Hi, Tom Cole for the Steve Taylor Community Connection, and certainly it's an honor and a privilege for me to be here today. We have a gentleman that Terry and I admire so much in our community, Mr. Chet Welch, who is the owner and co-operator with your outstanding brother Adam of the Perrysburg Messenger Journal, a great newspaper. And I don't say that lightly, Chet, because as I'm telling you something you don't know. Newspaper business is changing.
Sure.
And I look at the Blade, which is a great paper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're down to 2 days a week, Thursday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people, I believe, that are 45, 50 and up, that they want a physical paper that they can get their hands on and read.
Absolutely.
That's a marvelous paper, and I think it's filling a vital niche, an empty space, because if you don't have information from print,
Absolutely.
all you've got is TV.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we are able to go in depth. I have reporters and editors,
Yeah.
and they're able to go to council meetings and sit through a 2-hour council meeting and really get in depth detail what's going on, so we can give that information back to the public. They can take that news then versus a press release or that type of thing that just gets sent to us, and we get lots of those too. But it's nice to have somebody actually there, and asking questions and really getting some more in detail information from folks, mayors and councilmen and stuff like that. So it really is important.
The real story is behind the press release. I mean, the press release is what folks want you to know about it on surface. Absolutely. But behind the press release usually is the story.
Absolutely. And that's, you have to be careful because, I'm huge against censorship.
Yes.
Okay. I'm a big proponent of getting information out to people.
Absolutely.
Letting the people decide information,
Absolutely.
not having a particular party or somebody else censor some sort of story and that type of thing. So I'm really in favor of people getting the actual story, good, bad, or indifferent, Tom. Sometimes, things go out and it may not look really good for a certain person, but it's the truth. It's a fair story. It's truth. We don't do the gotcha stories. We write a truthful story, and I've got good editors that do a really good job at that.
And you do, and I've worked with your reporters. Kate Otis is one of them.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal. But you're a guy, I think a business always reflects the leader. Mm-hmm. And just like at Taylor, Steve Taylor.
Oh, absolutely. Great guy.
I mean, that's whatever, anybody you put his name out there, and the first thing they say is, great guy.
Yeah,
and the same with you with the paper. Anytime Terry and I are talking to people in the community and your name comes up, that's what they say. Yeah. Honest, fair, great guy. Yeah. So there's not much more you can ask for somebody to be other than honest and fair and a good person.
Well, Tom, I had some really good role models. As I mentioned before to you, my grandfather actually bought the business in 1969. He actually worked out of World War II for the newspaper and worked for a great lady. Her name was Betty Hart. She actually owned the paper and she wanted to get out of the business. And so 1969 presented itself where he was able to buy the paper. He was coming out of the Navy and he kind of came back to Ohio, needed a job, and started working for the paper. So it's been a family business. But I got to learn from two of the greatest men, on work ethics, on deadlines, on different things, integrity, just different things that I really learned from my grandfather and my father. And I wish they were here today, to be able to thank them for all their, hard lessons and stuff like that I've learned through the years.
Well, if they were, they'd be so very proud of you and your brother and what you've done, because you look what you're contributing to a community. Mm-hmm. You just can't go, and the media is great. I've been in TV for 30 years.
Absolutely.
And it's great, good, but you just can't rely on that for information. I find it so interesting, Chet, because Perrysburg is such a historic community, with Fort Meigs and the Maumee River and all the history. Yeah. And your paper, I think, goes back to 1853. Yep. Is that correct? 1853?
1853. It dates all the way back to 1853. I think it's the second oldest paper and or business in Wood County. We're only second to the Blade by a year or two in terms of how long it's been around. The weekly part gives us gives us a better chance to get those more in-depth, stories and that type of thing. Because we're not pushing a deadline like every single day. We're able to really, make phone calls to a chief of police and say, hey, there was this that happened. Can I get some more detail from you? Versus a 10 o'clock at night deadline that you're trying to rush a story through. Right. We're able to, make those phone calls and really back up, stories and get quotes and stuff like that from the community, that type of thing.
In the dichotomy of work at the paper, your co-owners with your brother Adam, I mentioned earlier, and you do the kind of business sales side of it.
Absolutely. Yep.
And Adam does the production, the actual printing of the paper.
He is fantastic. My brother, there's not a harder working guy around. I mean, he puts his heart on his sleeve. He works really hard. He does a great job. I know that if it goes over there at our production plant, it's handled.
It's done.
And there's times I have to go help and stuff like that with, they might come up short on helpers or whatever, and I've got no problem doing that. But my forte is more the sales and the business side and meeting with, like you and Terry and Mr. Taylor and all that.
You're great. You're great with people. So that's sales are just people skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
You possess all those.
Attitude is really everything. And in all of life, no matter what you're doing, attitude is everything. It really is. So
before I turn you over to Cross, Steve Taylor and Nick Marconi and Cross and Casey and China, because we've all worked closely with you on the paper, and it's always such a positive experience, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us, and you've helped us immensely.
And you've helped us too
in the community. It's a great partnership, but absolutely. I think you're the kind of guy. John Kennedy once said, "Rising tide lifts all boats," and you and your paper and your staff are lifting everyone in the Perrysburg community and the surrounding area with what you do in the paper.
Thank you. Too.
It's great. It's vital to our community. So congratulations to you, Chet.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I appreciate all your support from Mr. Taylor on down. And in fact, I know Mr. Taylor reads the paper from front to back. Probably every.
Well, Mr. Taylor will call you.
Exactly. So,
he'll give you a call, but you know what? He's always honest. He's always fair.
Absolutely.
And but Mr. Taylor will give you a call.
Oh,
He's called Cross and I a couple times.
It's like, what's going on? Yeah.
I start crying when he calls me, but Cross handles it a lot better than I do.
Does.
So thank you so much, and congratulations, Chet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you in today, and I just want to kind of get into, some of your success stories. I know it's a family business, but just give me a brief story in regards to why have you been so successful? What do you think that's been?
Honestly, Terry, it's hard work. And the newspaper business, as Tom mentioned, it's not easy. We couldn't do. There's no corporation that owns us. Whatever we sell in advertising is what puts our papers on the street. But it's hard work. It's not easy. It's you're negotiating with people. You're going through different things. You have to knock on doors and stuff. And like I said, I get that work ethic from my father. And let me just give you a real brief story. So I'm really proud of my dad. He played offensive line. He was a center and a defensive end in high school. He played for Anthony Wayne back and graduated '65. And he said he was at the bank when he figured he had offensive linemen wrapped up for the award, and they're at the banquet, they're getting ready to give out the award and stuff like that. He backs his chair up and they called some other guy's name, and he sat back down in his chair and he's like, well, what's the story with this? And they got to the last award, most valuable player, and he got nominated for most valuable player. Now that's pretty hard to do because usually it's your running backs, your quarterbacks, your wide receiver, to get it as an offensive center and a defensive end. That just tells you his leadership and his hard work. And my grandfather told me, he said, there was nobody on the football field that worked harder than your father. He was just a hardworking guy, and it paid off for him and stuff. So, but he was a good dude. Ended up going to Case Western, played there, and he also he was transferring over to Bowling Green, and then he actually dropped out of Case Western, goes to transfer in Vietnam was going on. He got drafted and went in the Navy, but in service.
So you give your dad a lot of credit.
Absolutely.
For your success.
Absolutely. It's the hard work, the integrity. Being a successful business person, getting out into the community, all those traits that my brother and I both got from him, and my grandfather as well. They were both hardworking guys.
And as you know, it kind of comes from the top down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the staff here, so we're just elated,
right?
With the current situation that we're able to do.
You guys are so great. You're everywhere. Kate wrote that story about the involvement with the art museum.
Yes.
What a great story, and what a great involvement and partnership you guys have there. It's wonderable.
Well, you guys give such positive articles on things that's going on.
And like I said, we don't do gotcha stories. We're going to tell the truth. We're not going to do gotcha stories. We're not going to try to trap a chief of police or a fire chief into some way to make them look bad. We're just gonna get the facts and print it. So,
and I'd just like to emphasize a little bit about the team concept, because it's not necessarily about your dad or your brother or yourself who are co-owners. It is just like here, it's a team.
Absolutely.
I just want you to give a little kudos, to give a little credit to your staff, because they they must mean so much to you.
And you know, it's funny you said that because I recently, in the last 2 months, I think I've hired 3 employees. And I say this, you know, in the interview, I don't like to feel like I have to micromanage people. If I'm micromanaging, that means I didn't hire the right person. And just like when I said about you being, it was a perfect fit for you. I just knew it, you know, because I want to be able to trust my employees. I want to be able to, you know, trust that their workload's getting done. Now, if I have to get involved, that's a whole different story.
Right.
But I very seldom have to get involved. I just have to go manage, you know, run, and set a good example, all that stuff, and it's actually pretty easy. It's just like putting your car on cruise control. If you get the right people in the right place, it's like any good football team or any good basketball team. You don't need to get up in somebody's face and yell at them or whatever, because they just want, people want to win. They want to do good. They want to do good things. So.
Well, the 10 Automotive family certainly has a wonderful partnership with the Perrysburg Messenger.
Yeah.
It's such a wonderful time having you in. And lastly, I'd just like for you to give us a little bit of information, close it out,
Sure.
in regards to if somebody wanted to contact you.
Absolutely.
How can they get in contact with you or want to put an article in
Absolutely.
the
You
newspaper?
could call us at 419-874-4491. We also have a website, Perrysburg.com. Pretty easy. You know, hard to go wrong with that, Perrysburg.com. I think we got that website address back in the 90s when the internet first started coming out, you know. And we've held on to it since. But if you Google search that, or if you come up, we're usually one of the first, you know, 2 or 3, 4 businesses that pop up, and you should see it. But you know, feel free to call me. If anybody has any questions, we'd love to help you. So.
But Chet, it was such a wonderful time having you, and you know, I'm just gleefully happy that I've met you, had the opportunity to meet you. You know, best of luck to you in the near future.
Thank you so much, Terry.
This
Appreciate
is
it.
Terry Crosby signing out.
Thank you.